All right, boys, welcome back to the Maxi Canalla show. I'm Maxi. This is my daily World Cup coverage. And today we're going to cover yesterday's games and we're going to do a preview for today's games. Although we're going to start off with a little bit of a somber note, at least for the first half of the episode. The U.S. men's national team was knocked out last night by Belgium. It was set to be a tightly contested affair, especially after Balogun's one-game suspension was lifted during the intervention from the U.S. men's national team and Donald Trump, hoping that it would become impactful. Unfortunately, Belgium came out hitting hard, right? Even in the first minute, they made Freeze have a good stop, and they came out really hard. Even I think like 10 minutes in, the Cutler scores, and Belgium was attacking hard, so it was inevitable that a goal would come, really. So the Cutler taps in the first one for Belgium at minute 10, and then we had a terrible injury from Onana. He gets injured around minute 20. You could see it that in the moment he was in serious pain, and now his knee gave out, so that sucks for him. But then the U.S. men's national team hit back with a deflected free kick from Tillmans, which was super lucky and super needed in the moment. But then I think what really showed what the U.S. men's national team was playing at was when instantly Belgium scores the next minute. So Tillman scores in minute 31, and then the Cutler scores the second in minute 32. So the U.S. men's national team couldn't hold the result. I think that just says a lot, shows a lot about the attitude, even though players gave it the best they could, but I still feel like this was a really bad performance. Maybe they weren't up to the level, unfortunately. And then I think it was just Belgium from then on. In the second half, there was a horror error by Freeze around minute 58, where he comes out properly. He comes out properly to anticipate a ball before the striker could get free, one-on-one. Comes out of the area, comes out of his box, and he really should have just booted it. I don't know why he's controlling it, running around, trying to pass it off while he's already pressured, and I think it was the Cutler again that just gets a foot in, and then Freeze loses the ball. And around minute 58, minute 58, Van Aken, he picks it up from about 30, 40 yards out, and he scores into a free net, and then that's 3-1 for Belgium. And then Pulisic is injured around the same moment. And then at the very end of the game, Lukaku scores like 95 or something like that, minute 95, and it makes it 4-1. It was a disastrous night for the U.S. men's national team. They didn't look up to the level, really. It was quite disastrous for the U.S. national team. Watching them get knocked out of the World Cup round of 8 in Seattle. Really unfortunate night. It did suck watching that, but I think Tillmans had a great World Cup. Balogun obviously had a great World Cup, although he didn't show it versus Belgium, even though the balls never got to him. He had a couple. I think he had one on the left, close post to Courtois. He saves it. But other than that, I think Pulisic had a horrible World Cup. He never showed anything. Unfortunately, he really didn't. I think Dest had an okay World Cup. Sometimes played bad, sometimes played good. I think Andy Robinson had a terrible World Cup. I think he was probably one of the worst. Freeze sometimes showed good level. This error he caused, I mean, was catastrophic. It was really bad. It was really bad, but I think it's a, a stain on his decent World Cup. And Belgium does play good football. They have a good attack. I think they managed the ball well. Trossard had a good game. De Ketelaere obviously had a good game, putting away two. Lukaku's a big man up top. He put him in second half, almost at the end. And I think Tielemans had a great game and a good World Cup so far. But I think it was mostly how bad the U.S. men's national team played than how good Belgium played. Unfortunately, the result is 4-1 and U.S. men's national team is knocked out. So let's continue. And we had also Spain-Portugal yesterday. It was a very patient game from both, but Spain did start early on, getting a chance at minute 8. Oyarzabal had a chance and he missed it, which is rare, right? You expect Oyarzabal to put something like that away, but it goes wide. And around minute 16, we get that incredible double save from Diogo Costa. So Rodri is pushing up the field, finds Lamine around upper thirds on the left, where he cuts in, takes a shot at the far corner, and Diogo Costa springs in, saves it, drops a rebound to Baena, who takes it to the other far right corner. And on the drop, Diogo Costa dives again to the other side and saves it wonderfully. We also had some more Spain dangerous plays. Around minute 41, Nuno Mendes gets it off of a corner and takes aim, clips Pedro Porro's head, and it dumps the crossbar. And the first half ends 0-0 with some chances for both teams. And so far in the match, I would say Nuno Mendes is probably winning the duel between Lamine and Nuno Mendes. I think Lamine has a very hard time attacking against Nuno Mendes. He has his number, but in the beginning of the second half, minute 55, Lamine takes it on the left, goes downfield, and it seems like Mendes on the track back to catch him has an injury, muscular injury, and this is unfortunately the end of the World Cup for Nuno Mendes, which I think he has had a phenomenal World Cup. He's a great player. He's an attacking fullback, but he gets subbed off by Nelson Semedo, who's coming on. And looks like maybe Lamine could take advantage of this. But it goes on another like 20, 30 minutes without, I would say like 20, 25 minutes without anything happening really for either side. Ferran comes on for Alex Baena in Spain's first change. And around minute 85, Merino gets subbed on for Olmo. And Ruiz gets subbed on for Pedri. And then at minute 90 plus like 1 or 2 minutes, we get Ferran on the edge of the box, puts a clean ball through into space for Merino to get onto the end of it, and puts it close first post, beats Diogo Costa, who has had, I think he beat a record of how many minutes in a World Cup without receiving a goal, and that ends that. And Spain is 1-0 up at minute 91. So now Spain is trying to hold on to the win because there's another 6 minutes left. And Portugal is on the attack. They cannot get through the Spain defense. And they lacked a bit of football here, I think. And they wouldn't put in a cross. I was yelling at them to put in the cross. Put it in to Ronaldo. Nobody would find Ronaldo. Ronaldo had only 3 touches in the box in the whole game. 3 of them were shots. But this team, I think sometimes doesn't play enough. Doesn't play good enough. It was a little bit unfortunate and frustrating to watch, but at minute 96, Silva gets so close getting on the end of a good cross, and it just goes over the crossbar, and then we get a little bit of Rodri and Silva back and forth, which it looked like Silva was pissed off because Rodri was celebrating a bit. They're Manchester City teammates, right? But at the end, Rodri said it was nothing, and Silva said it was nothing. So that's the end of Spain Portugal 1-0. So Spain goes through to quarterfinals, which is huge. I don't think they have shown their best football yet, but this is a big win for Spain for sure. I think they still have a lot to offer, which is kind of scary when you think about that Spain is not playing their best football and they're still going through the quarterfinals. Portugal, unfortunately, I think they came to the limit of what they could do. I didn't expect them to go further than this, really. And it's a bit sad that, this is Ronaldo's last World Cup, but I just think they weren't up to the level. Alrighty, but with that being said, let's get into the preview for today's matches. Let's start off with Argentina versus Egypt. This is going to be in the Dallas Stadium, covered roof, so much better for Argentina coming off of that Miami game versus Cabo Verde, which was insane 3-2 win for Argentina in extra time. Not playing their best football, absolutely probably their worst game. And Egypt comes off of pens, tying 1-1 with Australia, winning 4-2. I think Salah started having a really good game at the end of the game there, going into extra time. But I think Egypt should be probably an easier opponent for Argentina than Cabo Verde was, to be honest. I don't think Egypt is showing that great of football, tying 1-1 with Australia. Cabo Verde seem to be a much tougher opponent in the moment, but every World Cup game is difficult. So what we've been seeing in the World Cup so far from Argentina is McAllister playing at number 5. And I think this is happening because Paredes came into the World Cup injured, but it takes away from his game. I think Paredes needs to be number 5. I think that's going to be one of the changes that we're going to see for this coming game. I would keep De Paul, Enzo up higher, McAllister up higher, and Paredes as number 5, distributing the ball and being the defensive midfielder that we know. And I would take out Thiago Almada for Paredes. I think Thiago Almada has had really good performances with Argentina, but his World Cup has not been that good. He's been quite lackluster. I think he needs to offer more to the team, because that's what we need from him. Lautaro Martinez, I think, is gonna be subbed out from the starting 11. I think it should be Julian who starts because it gives him more dynamic. He pressures more, tires out the opponents more. And I think Lautaro maybe could come on in the second half, maybe in minutes 60, 65 or something like that to end the game. But I think that change should be there as well. But Argentina also has to plant the game differently. I think their game plan has to be a bit different, more dynamic, more um, faster movement. Against Cabo Verde, they seemed so patient, too patient, and not intense enough. I think it says a lot about Argentina winning 3-2 against Cabo Verde with the game that they had not playing well, but they need to step it up to continue going forward in the World Cup. And I think Egypt is a great opponent that they have a chance to demonstrate that. Now, I think Egypt as well has very good players. Number 8, Ashur, I think, is a really good player that they have in midfield who can control the ball, control the game. So Argentina has to press tight, 3 or 4 players on him at all times. Salah on the right. Obviously, we know his quality. I think Medina or Taliafico is going to start on the left. Not sure. I would probably say Medina's probably going to start. And he should really have a tight mark on Salah. Aside from that, I think Egypt is kind of weak in the back. and that could be exploited. But Argentina's never been a set piece team. They never go up for aerial headers, even though we saw that from Cuti Romero last game. Either way, I think it should be a good match. I think Argentina has to try to depend on building up an attack instead of depending on Messi like we did last game. That really reminded me a lot about older Argentinas that really just depended on Messi. But as soon as Scaloni came in, I think we saw a change from that, which was super refreshing. I think that's what the Argentina team needed. We needed to step away from depending on Messi and supporting Messi. So I think we need to step into that direction. It was just this one game that reminded me of that. So we'll see how Argentina plays against Egypt now coming up. Okay, and for the next game, that would be Switzerland Colombia, the round of 16. Okay, and for the next game, that would be Switzerland versus Colombia. Switzerland has a strong team that can, I think, surprise. We have Mansambi with 3 goals in the World Cup, and Bolo with 2, and Vargas with 2. So they have distributed firepower. But we also have, I think, Colombia with one of the best attacking, more dynamic games out there. Super think that they deserve the more versus Ghana. I think they should have probably put 3 or 4 away. I think Colombia's best players are James and Quintero. When you put James in as a starting 11 and Quintero in the second half, their quality is so good. Their left foots are so good. They can create out of nowhere. So that I think is Colombia's strongest asset. I think their defense is also very phenomenal. I think they shut down a lot of good teams, and I think they have aerial firepower. But this should be an interesting match. I think Switzerland can offer a lot in terms of surprise to Colombia. And let's remember, Colombia comes off of a 1-0 win against Ghana. Like I said, they should have put 3 or 4 away against Ghana. They completely dominated in the attack. They had clear chances. But what's a little bit worrying is that they didn't put them away. They didn't put them away. Like, I remember Luis Diaz had a 1-on-1 and just shoots it at the keeper. He saves it, and stays 1-0. It's those chances you need to put them away, especially against better teams, because you will regret not putting those chances away. And Switzerland comes off of a more chill win 2-0 against Algeria in the previous round. So I think this should be an interesting game. I would look forward to maybe seeing Switzerland surprising Colombia. I don't think it's going to be easy at all for Colombia, but I think Colombia will pull through. I think Colombia should pull through, and I think they would win 2-1. I think they would win 2-1 against Switzerland. But this should be a banger of a match. I think this should be a sleeper match. Alrighty, boys. Thanks for listening to the Maxi Canalla show. Enjoy the football. And remember, Aguante Central, Aguante Argentina, Aguante USA. See you in the next one.